let's take an early look at the Georgia-Florida game, or the Florida-Georgia game, whatever you want to call it, world's largest outdoor cocktail party, if you want to call it that as well. We're going to predict the winner to this game tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, live right here on the Hard Count on the On3 YouTube channel. So probably have that video actually already scheduled out on this channel, so make sure you have the notifications on, make sure you're subscribed, all that, so you don't miss it is what I'm trying to say. It's going to be a great game. Can't wait to talk about it. Before we do that, though, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a minute of what we got going on right here. Talking ball and only ball. We celebrate this sport just the way that you enjoy it. We celebrate fall Saturdays. We're not here with hot takes or agendas. Like, it's ball and only ball around here, all right? So we appreciate y'all being a part of this. Okay, when it comes to this game now, for Florida, if they were to win this game, if Florida wins this game, think about just the statement that would be for Billy Napier, and think about the way that you could package up a win like this and take it on the recruiting trail, a place that Florida actually already has a fair amount of juice. Like, I don't know if you've been keeping track, but Florida have been rolling dating back to last summer and into this season from what I've been able to gather. So if you're able to get a win against Georgia, the back-to-back national champs, one, recruiting juice, I think you have that in spades. The second piece of that, think about just the trajectory setter that would be for the Billy Napier era at Florida. You could then go back to this very game, no matter what kind of outcome you have the rest of the season, but you can go back to this moment and have it be like the album cover for 2023. Hey, maybe things went this way, or maybe they went great, or whatever, like the way, regardless of how it ends, you can go back to the Georgia game and feel good, I think, about the direction of Florida under Billy Napier. Now, when it comes to Georgia, the mission is clear. Like, there's not a whole lot of extra discussion that has to be done when it comes to what the Dogs are doing in 2023. They're going for 3 in a row. Want to go to 3 in a row? You got to take care of business in the regular season. And this is obviously a part of that regular season element. Now, you want to win your rivalry game, all right? So that's obviously a very, very big part of this. The interesting thing now for Georgia, for this Georgia team, it's not 2022 Georgia. It's not 2021 Georgia. Yes, there's a certain amount of production that's back from those teams, or from 2022 at least, but when you talk about this year's Georgia team, I personally think this is the biggest spot that they've been into this year. Now, maybe you would argue, well, hey, JD, at Auburn, that's a big spot. Hey, JD, when they played Kentucky, when they were ranked in Athens, that's a big spot. I understand all that, but I think the rivalry game in Jacksonville, with the way that Florida's playing right now, Florida getting a bye, Georgia getting a bye, both leading into this game, I think this will be a very, very big, again, stage for this Georgia team. Curious to see how they handle it. Curious to see how Carson Beck handles it. Curious to see how the offensive playmakers for Georgia handle it. And that's really where I want to start. That's my biggest question for Georgia as we kind of take an early look at this game. You lose 26% of the production through the air that Carson Beck had from a passing yards perspective, with 19 not on the field. So who steps up? We talk about that a lot. We talked about that a lot already with Brock Bowers and his injury situation. Again, I think he's going to make an effort to be back this year. That's why you get the tightrope surgery. But Brock Bowers was the differentiator in that Auburn game. My question, and the thing I want to ask here, is who is the guy now for Georgia in the pass game? I think they'll want to run the football a lot. Even though they're throwing the ball 37 times a game is Georgia, I think they'll still have an effort to run the ball. We'll talk about that here in a second. But a guy that I'm watching here, I think we should watch together, is Dominique Lovett. Transfer from Missouri, feels like he's kind of starting to come into his own. He's a guy that I think can work the field in a different fashion than Brock Bowers. Yes, obviously, because Brock Bowers is a physical freak show, but Dominique Lovett, his agility, the way that he finds a way to get open, and the way he's starting to, it feels like, catch his rhythm, I think he could be a guy that you see Carson Beck go to early and often. Again, in the slot receiver position, more times than not, you're matched up with a guy who's not a cover corner, so he's not specializing in man-to-man coverage. So one, you're getting a guy, if he does play man against you, he's not able to probably stick with you to the level that a cover corner would. That's first. Other part of this, he's probably playing zone. I say probably. There's a good chance he's playing zone if he's in that slot position, covering that slot position, which means that you have some real estate to work with if you're Dominique Lovett, to find that soft spot, sit down, get open, get some yards after the catch, all that good stuff. So we're extrapolating a little bit on what Dominique Lovett could mean here in this spot for Georgia, but I'm just saying I think he's a guy you look to with the way that he's trended and his skill set and what you're going to ask of this Georgia offense, I think, going forward in the pass game to make up for Brock Bowers. Now, does Florida start fast? That's another very big question I have in this game, because it changes what you ask Graham Mertz to do. Now, Graham Mertz deserves a lot of apologies from a lot of people that were talking down on his name this past offseason when he decided to transfer from Wisconsin to Florida. That's first. Doesn't really have a lot to do with this game. He's been playing well is what I want to make sure we say. The other part of this, though, Florida as an identity, they want to run the football. They want to control the game. They want to play with a lead. You can't play with a lead if you don't start fast, right? And to the same token, now Georgia, they haven't really been known for starting fast. So what happens if Florida goes up 10-0? Are they able to then run the ball? Are they able to kind of play with the style they want to play with offensively and keep that Georgia defense off balance? Because if you have to play from behind, now, to be fair, we've seen Florida come back from a deficit now. That 10-point comeback in South Carolina. It's a very big piece of this. Shane Beamer was not happy, broke his foot. Another conversation for another time. I'm saying it's not something that Florida can't do. It's something you don't really want to do if you're Florida. You don't want to live in a situation where you're asking Graham Mertz to throw the ball 40 times. Not that he can't, it's just that you would rather it be a thing where he makes his throws where he has to. He gets Ricky Pearsall involved when he's open. He gets involved off play action, like all those things. But ultimately, you want to control the line of scrimmage if you're Florida. It's a big task against this Georgia defense, but it's what you would like to see happen if you're Florida. Again, a big part of that is starting fast. Keep an eye in this game on Eugene Wilson. Phenomenal freshman for Florida. We saw him have a big impact multiple times throughout this season, but especially early in the Tennessee game. The way they used him before he got injured, I thought was fascinating. Getting him the ball on the perimeter and kind of putting pressure on the edges of a defense, getting them running one way and the other, and then when you have a defense flow, and then you can run the football back the other way. So keep an eye on that. I think Eugene Wilson should have an impact on this game, and curious how they bake him into the offense when it comes to them trying to start fast. Also for Georgia, the run game has to be an element. I told you we'd talk about it in a second, and we're talking about it now. If I'm Georgia and I watched that Kentucky film against Florida, Kentucky ran power right, power left till their heart was content. They just got downhill pretty much at will against this Florida defense. Now, if I'm Georgia, I say, okay, well, we've been known to be pretty physical up front. We've been known to be a team that likes to get downhill every so often. I understand the running back room has their own issues in terms of depth, but like in a game like this, if you want to get Carson Beck comfortable in a situation like this, in this kind of spot, running the ball and taking advantage of living in 3rd and 3, living in 2nd and 5, that would be a great way to get down if you're Georgia. Because again, Kentucky, Ray Davis ran for like almost 300 yards against this Florida defense. That could end up being the backbreaker if you're Georgia. Now, Florida, they know that's on tape too. It's going to be a mission for them in this game to kind of right that wrong. So I think they'll take this one personally, even because it's a rivalry game, even because of what we were talking about with how that Kentucky game went. I think they feel like they have something to prove in that department. How do they look? Austin Armstrong, I'm curious how aggressive they are defensively, because I think their MO has been to be aggressive, and I love the way Austin Armstrong has built to a defense at this level right now with what Florida's doing right now. I love the style of aggression they play with is what I'm trying to communicate to you. But against Georgia, is it a thing where you break tendencies and you say, okay, well, you don't have Brock Bowers, so we're going to play as honest as we can up front, and we're going to keep you from getting that big chunk play downfield? If you nickel and dime us all the way down the field, and if we don't bring it on the line of scrimmage, shame on us. But we're not going to let you get the big play. Or is it, hey, it's Georgia, scared money don't make money? To quote Billy Napier, like, let's get after it. We're throwing the kitchen sink at you. Can you handle it? We're going to test Carson Beck in this spot. We're going to find out about him real quick. Two different trains of thought. Curious which one Florida sides with. Because I don't think either one would necessarily be ultimately overly surprising. So, again, we'll pick our winner for this one tomorrow. Massive pride game for both teams in terms of what it means for them in this rivalry. A huge spot for Florida, a huge spot for this new Georgia team. I cannot wait to see how they respond. Cannot wait to watch this one. It is everything that is good with college football is the Georgia-Florida, Florida-Georgia rivalry. We're going to break it down and give you our prediction in this one tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern on this channel. Again, the live video for that may already be scheduled out. I will pin it to the comment section below here so you can make sure you don't miss it. Regardless, hey, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.